3, 2, 1, begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Two Tall Guys and the Small Fry. Oh, wait, Small Fry's out today. Once again, reporting for this month's podcast. Today we have with us, of course, Tall Guy Bretton Hamilton and Tall Guy
Evan Fallon. Howdy, everyone.
And we have with us today a very special guest, programming extraordinaire, Alan Reck.
Oh, hurrah.
Alan Reck is the owner, the founder, what do you want to call yourself for ZoopTEK?
Founder and owner and CEO of, and programmer, and pretty much just most things of ZoopTEK, yes.
And in addition to that, he also teaches some classes here at Tribeca Flashpoint Academy. But today we're going to be mainly focusing on Alan and some of the projects he's working on. Alan, how did you get to where you are today?
Let's see here. When I was a wee little tyke in 4th grade, we had to do this apprenticeship project for some school project. And I had the choice of building an airplane with my grandfather. This is when I was like really young though, so obviously what can I do besides like punch it through a few bolts or whatever. Bake cookies with my grandmother or program with my mother. So I chose programming because I had a deep fascination with video games. Of course, I played a lot of Dune 2 as a kid. I really loved Command & Conquer and such, and so I started learning how to program in 4th grade. That's what got me all started.
Okay, and so that kind of snowballed into almost full-time programming now?
Yes. I very much enjoy just playing around. I probably should have read more books as a kid about programming, but I just loved experimenting and seeing what I could make. I made so many failed games, but each failed game I was learning stuff, and it was like one of my biggest hobbies was like experiment and try to make games when I was a little kid. And then eventually that evolved to the big breakthrough was, I think it was like sophomore year in high school. I finally learned how to do networking, how to transmit information through TCP/IP, which led me to making one of my earlier side-by-side multiplayer games, like we had 2 people on the same computer, into an actual multiplayer game. That was my Paintball 3 Extreme game, which is the first game that got really popular. That was back when I called ZoopTEK L's programs.
Those are dark times.
Those are dark times. And then once it started gaining popularity, I renamed it to be ZoopTEK, and that's Paintball 3 Extreme was what really started ZoopTEK.
Was that the game that you put on AOL and it became like the game of the day or whatever? I remember you were saying something about that.
That was my first popular program was Picture Viewer. It was just something like from the very little knowledge I had, it was something I could actually pull off. And yeah, it did become like program of the day. My dad was so proud. He like printed out hundreds of these color pictures of the screenshot. They're still at home. I should like go frame one and put it in my condo. But that was that was the first thing that got popular. And then it was a few years, that was like in middle school though, I think. And then a few years later, that's when I did Paintball 3 Extreme.
Okay, and so Paintball 3 Extreme, is there still anything floating around on the internet? Or?
There are, like, if you look on Google, it's actually still one of the top-ish Googles. If you look for ZoopTEK or Paintball, it's ZoopTEK Paintball is one of the more common keyword combinations, so I guess there's still some people. I still have a few dedicated fans who will drop by my website every once in a while and go check in.
Very cool.
The tale of Paintball is a very long and fascinating one. The game was very popular for about 5 years before it finally faded off.
Wow. Well, very cool. And at that point, had you registered like ZoopTEK to be like an actual entity, or was it still just kind of like just slap
a name on there? It was informal. Yeah, I have the like least powerful copyright thing. But anyone can declare copyright for basic things, and so that's what I did for a long time. I was in high school. And plus I doubt anyone was gonna sue me for this little free game. And plus I put disclaimers on all my stuff to cover my rear, but that's politics and such.
Yeah. And so what'd you do from there?
So I made the paintball game that lasted until my college years. And I was, by that point, I learned so much in 5 years that it was really time to move on from paintball. It was very painful to update and such, and it was a rough time. I learned so much, and there were so many new games. I'd been working on the same game for so long. And I really wanted to go try out other genres. And so the next big game after that was Mastery, which was like a massively online Risk style game. It was a really fun time where my fraternity brothers had joined the very first game of Mastery versus my online fans, and it was like the world was split in half and this giant alliances trying to take over the world. It was absolutely awesome to witness. Then I made a bunch of smaller games after that. Then the first big release for money, gasp, was Coniclysm on Steam, and now I'm working on Avarice.
Okay, very cool. Well, before we jump into that, maybe you mentioned it, but where were you going to school during this time, and what were you majoring in?
I went to school at DePauw University, DePauw with a W at the end, in Bufu, Indiana. Cornfield, that's about all there is out there.
And game designers, apparently.
No, well, I did computer science.
Okay.
I was already, obviously I had a lot of background in computer science, so it was like the natural fit. My parents wanted me to go to liberal arts, so I went to liberal arts college. Though it is kind of funny, I ended up teaching at a school very much targeting game development, which is cool. So
Yeah. Okay, and so Coniclysm, that was on Steam, correct?
Yes, that was on Steam. It was a third-person abstract shooter. The original inspiration for that was Geometry Wars. Saw that actually at the school. I was working here when I saw Geometry Wars for the first time, and I thought, oh, this is a really cool game. What if I just made it 3D? Mm-hmm. And then I started tacking all this crazy psychedelic story to it, and it just grew. It was just one of those games where it's just like, this would be fun to make. Just like all the previous games when I was a little kid, I just experimented with things, and I started experimenting with this idea of 3D Coniclysm, and it just started catching on. I showed it to the students, and people liked it, and so that was the game that ended up on Steam first. I have a bunch of IPs ready to roll. That was the one that grew fastest, I guess.
Very cool, very cool. And how'd you necessarily get your foothold here at school?
I was actually working in an ad agency making the annoying ads on weather.com style stuff, hit the baseball kind of stuff to get a coupon.
That was you?
Yeah, that kind of style stuff. And then the original Game Chair was actually looking for a secretary. And I'd submitted my resume months before, and I didn't get any response from the school. And then, like I said, the chair came by and it's like, oh, look, I'm looking for a secretary. And it's like, okay. And but I showed him my skills. He was really, really impressed. My portfolio looked pretty darn good because I had like a 3D massively online RTS at that time. And so they promised me some cool stuff, a lot of time to work on my own stuff, which we'll talk about eventually here. Yeah. And that's what got me into school. Was they kind of promised me kind of the Google style thing where I get some time to work on my own stuff.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Mm-hmm. So you've kind of taken that forward now, and I understand we've been working on Avarice.
Yes.
So what exactly is Avarice for those who haven't heard anything yet?
Yes. Avarice is a third-person shooter where you get to build your own ship. Everything from weapons to thrusters to armor to missiles and guns and miniguns and whatnot. And you get to build it kind of like Legos. It's very, very reminiscent of Minecraft. And everyone knows what Minecraft is nowadays. Mm-hmm. So block by block, build a ship, and then you get to fly missions. You're a mercenary, so you get to fly missions, make money, blowing up stuff. Pretty much. That's really short summary.
Hey, explosions sell.
Yeah, exactly. Explosions sell.
Okay, and so Avarice has kind of become inducted into one of the programs that the school does here, known as Game Studio.
Yes.
And for those outside the Tribeca kind of realm, Game Studio is an event that all game students go through 3 times throughout their career here at the 2-year program here at Tribeca, and during Game Studio 1, so the very first, our second semester into school, we kind of get sit down, we get brought in, we get shown Avarice, and exactly as he described it, we within our first year get to work on this, or we were capable of working on this cool new program. And so Evan and I, having both spent quite a bit of time in the editor and kind of messed around with things, we both developed, some experience with Avarice and building it as our first kind of big game that has the potential to make its way out there. Evan, do you want to kind of go into what you kind of went through with Avarice?
Yeah, sure. Like Brett said, we when we're in game studio, the first game studio, we get to play around in all of the different aspects of game design. So we did art, design, and production, and we got to mess around in programming a little bit. It was more scripting than actual programming.
XML scripting, yeah.
But it was as much as we could handle for programming, more or less. But I did art at first, and as Alan said, it's based off of Minecraft. It takes inspiration from Minecraft. Yeah. And so everything's cubed, and it was fun to learn how to stylize and work with a lot of people. And working with the editor was a lot of fun, and it's definitely grown since the last time I've used it. And by the time the demo comes out, it'll be so user friendly it'll knock your socks off.
The demo people don't get to use the editor quite yet. They'll have to wait for the full game.
Right. Cool. That's how you rope them in. Then
to blow stuff up.
Yeah, you blow stuff up. So, it was one of the first experiences where I got to learn to work with a lot of people, and it was really good. So,
okay, and myself, as Evan kind of explained, since we all go through some of the rotations, so I went through doing art a little bit. I did production. When I got into design, I kind of found myself in the lead designer position, and so it was my job kind of orchestrating and ensuring that all the designers, kept on task and developed quality levels and kind of developed a story and made our section progress. Whether that went as expected is debatable, but for the most part, I'd say that our rotation was a general success for when I was in design. When I worked on the levels, I had a really good time kind of messing around in the level editor, which I don't know, is that going to be commercial, or are they just going to kind of get...
the level editor is going to be in the final game.
Okay.
And then hopefully one day, right now it's all very informal, but hopefully one day we'll have an official sharing system. Instead of having to pass files back and forth, you'll be able to connect to a server and say, here's the map vault, and you can go connect the map vault. This map looks cool. Download it.
Kind of like how the Portal 2 level editor works. Something similar to that.
Yeah, something like the Steam. Steam has all those DLC-ish, tools that allows you to download apps and such.
The workshop?
The workshop, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, very cool. So kind of in my design rotation while I was working on levels, you kind of had to get down the flow of the level, since we had to work within restrictions of not making the level too big and having to rely on certain art assets.
And making it look ergonomic and real, not making just solid walls leading the player.
Absolutely. So that was a really incredible experience. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how everybody feels when they finally get their hands on that. But right now, Alan, you're currently working to get Avarice out onto a demo.
Yes, so the school would like to see a demo about mid-December-ish, we're hoping, so that you will get to show off you guys, the students' work, along with obviously my hard work for now about a year of work. So I'm really excited to finally show some people besides videos. I have a lot of videos on YouTube of Avarice, but I'm really excited to actually let people play the game, blow some stuff up and make some money.
Yeah.
So where exactly right now can they find information on this?
You can go to ZoopTEK's website, ZoopTEK.net. You can also find us on almost all social media, from Google Plus to Facebook to
MySpace.
Not MySpace. Who goes to MySpace anymore?
Well,
I have a MySpace.
You gotta get some FaceTime. Come on.
So all the and Twitter even, you can look at us there too. So
okay, very cool. And I know Two Tall Guys in the Small Fry will be putting up some information about Avarice and kind of directing some people towards the demo once that hits launch. I'm sorry, did you mention the date that we were hoping to have that out?
I said about mid-December, so that's the goal.
Okay, very cool. what do you plan to do after that? After Avarice is on its way out the door, do you have any plans?
Well, after Avarice or just after the demo? Because
much
after
more
the
work
demo
do you
is
have?
obviously the full version where you have the full-blown campaign and some randomly generated maps as well as filler in case you get stuck because the campaign is tough. It will kick your rear. So there's some side missions so you can make some extra cash. After that, I really designed Avarice to be a game that can be expanded upon for a long time. I'm kind of hoping for a Paintball 3 Extreme style game where it's something I can just add to for years and years and years. It's designed to be more or less a hardcore-ish game where it's something that you it's the basic gameplay is simple enough. It's like Call of Duty, you just jump in, fly around, blow stuff up. But then I designed the universe, the world, the story to fit with lots of expansions. So besides having campaign, little campaign packs, there's going to be a sandbox mode where it's going to be very similar to the game Mountain Blade in a lot of ways, where instead of kingdoms, you're going to have essentially mega corporations with their mercenaries trying to take control of resources like oil and such, and they're going to be battling over those essentially just to make money. So it's kind of like a modern version of feudalism, and you'll be able to make your own corporation or be just a free agent and go help whichever corporation you wish, again, to make money. That's one of many things. There's going to be a naval ship building mode eventually. So not only will we be able to build flying craft, but then now huge battleships if you want. Probably will be ground units eventually down the road, and of course the obligatory multiplayer.
I was just gonna ask. I mean, got to put in that multiplayer. So
multiplayer will probably be after the sandbox mode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very cool. And so, how long do you think this is going to be partnered with the school?
Hopefully a long time. That's hard to predict. It totally depends on
up to the powers that be.
Up to the powers that be. It's totally dependent on how does Avarice go. What does the school's growing very, very fast. Depends on what they want to do in their future. Also depends on what ZoopTEK wants to do in the future. That's hard to predict at this time. But right now, looks like things are going pretty steadily well together, and I hope it does continue.
Okay, very cool. And I just had a question, but I lost it. Evan, did you have anything?
Let me think. I did have something, but I kind of lost it too.
Oh,
darn.
no.
Oh.
The dreaded space when all of a sudden we're part of the way through the podcast and go on a blank.
I have to go ask questions for you guys.
I guess we could probably. All right.
Where exactly have you guys, or have you drawn inspiration? Because I know you mentioned that has a bit of a Minecraft feel to it in the sense that it's very cubey, but it doesn't play like Minecraft to any degree.
I've drawn inspiration from a lot of places. When I was younger, I really tried to make genuinely unique games, and every time I invented a genuinely unique game within a year or so of thinking that someone else would publish a game that's exactly the same. It's very hard to make something that's genuinely unique and get it published in time. Everyone is kind of riding that wave of this is what's out right now, and this is what's this is the next step. And so everyone who's trying to push creativity is going to inevitably bump into each other, and then it's just a race of who makes it first. I was working on a game previous to Avarice that was very, very similar to a game called Castle Story that actually got very popular on Reddit and other game sites about a year ago. And my heart just sunk. I thought it's a really awesome idea of make a Minecraft style RTS thing, and then these two Canadian guys make a video and they essentially beat me to the punch. And they became ridiculously popular, and now they have a Reddit subreddit, and it was really funny because they had almost the exact same game, right down to the floating islands. It was really kind of crazy how similar the games were, but that.
Oh, are you talking about the game where you had the little yellow builder guys?
Yeah,
I've seen that.
I could really I thought about it just for fun. I really envy those guys. Those guys did an awesome job building the Minecraft RTS, and it's so freaky how similar it was. But yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Anyway, so that taught me a lesson that you can't always you can't always get the most unique idea. And so the older I've gotten, the more I've thought, well, what's just fun? What's inspiring to me? What would I enjoy making? And so I really started just with Avarice. I a long time ago, after Coniclysm, I thought of a Minecraft RTS. Minecraft block building, but it was an RTS, so you could build your units block by block. And then I thought that would be like Coniclysm 2, but one of the downfalls of Coniclysm was it was so abstract, so colorful, so out there that most players couldn't relate to it. It was just so out there, and so it was very much a niche game. Plus, it was like ridiculously hard. I'm very good at making very hard games. I like a challenge in my games, and so I was like, that wouldn't relate too well. Having this already a game that's really hard to get into because it's just so crazy, abstract, and weird. Then go add an RTS element. Now we're getting to like homeworld, RTS where it's 3D space RTS, and everyone's little minds are gonna explode. So I went for like, okay, let's bring this back down to earth here. It's like, let's keep it simple. Like, we are building spaceships. All right. Well, let's think of my favorite spaceship style games. There's a game called Raptor Call of the Shadows, a game I played more than I probably should have as a little kid. It's a very simple game. It's a top-down scrolling shooter game where you had a Raptor fighter jet and you could attach futuristic weapons to it. And the ground, you could blow up all the ground stuff. And
that's the game that you showed.
Yes.
Yeah. I played it when we went to
it.
that one arcade once. So it was sitting there. So.
Okay.
Oh, really? It was an arcade?
Yeah,
I didn't know Raptor Call of the Shadows made it to arcade. That's awesome. There's a lot of that style.
They made a I don't want to go off too far, but there's a place an arcade that we went to, Galloping Ghost, and it was there. So like they had made a case, or they put it in a case.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Now I want to go try that in the arcade machine. Anyway, so I drew a lot of ideas from that. Essentially, like I said, you can't everyone is on the edge of innovation, so you can't beat them. Just go for what excites you. So I was like, okay, I'm going to grab from some of the games that really inspired me, maybe games that are not like the most in thing right now. So I took some of my childhood favorites. So it has the Minecraft building and look to it, combined with the Raptor Call of the Shadows. You fly a mission, make money by blowing stuff up, go back to the hangar, go upgrade your ship. It's similar to Tyrion, which is a little more popular game. The same idea, where you fly missions, make money, upgrade. Obviously, the whole sandbox mode is similar to Mountain Blade, as I said. Love that game too. A little bit newer, but
yeah.
I draw upon whatever excites me and what will fit with the game. I made the universe fit pretty much anything I feel like making.
With also some little flavors of what's popular now, like just enough to
to be connectable. Yeah.
Well, it's like I don't want to make another Call of Duty. There's plenty of Call of Duties out there. I don't want to make another typical realistic shooter. I'm trying to shoot for something that is fun innately, but not just do the exact same thing again. So I'm combining genres in a way. So I'm combining the RTS-ness of Mountain Blade with the third-person shooter of Descent, with the economy and upgrading of Raptor. Like, I could pull in all these game titles into one description of Avarice.
I was going to say, the game feels very reminiscent of Descent, I believe it was.
Yeah, I played the demo of Descent, so I've actually not really played it, but I've actually, since I started working on Avarice, I started looking into old school games. One of my friends is obsessed with space sim games, so I just asked him, okay, give me a list of all the space sim games I should look at, and so he's like Freelancer and stuff like that. So
yeah. When I was showing Avarice to my old man, he kind of said, "Oh, that looks a lot like Descent, huh? That's kind of cool to see." Like some of those people, the retro fans who are still kind of a fan of that, can kind of definitely see the connection with Avarice. So, out of curiosity, have you considered doing anything to raise additional support or funding, like in terms of like Kickstarter or?
Yeah, that's been one of the toughest things, which is why I really envy Notch. Notch has done what I've dreamed of and succeeded. The story of Notch, in case no one knows, is pretty much he was working a full-time job and just working on Minecraft and his other games on the side. You do game competitions and such, and slowly it just worked out. Minecraft started catching on because he was selling it for a really small amount, and eventually he was able to drop down to part-time, and then eventually he was able to drop down to just work on Minecraft entirely. So I really Notch is like my idol, because that's kind of the way I was planning on things working out for me too. Is got to get money from somewhere, got to pay for food and home, and so work a job like I am teaching and keep on working on ZoopTEK stuff. Entrepreneurship is kind of in my blood, I guess. It's something I've been pushing for a long time, but I never worried about them. When I was in school and such, I was just worried about making a popular game and just making the game. For me, the game was far more important than any amount of money. It's a lot of ways that's what I'm doing with Avarice. I'm more worried about enjoying making the game than making the money. But money's inevitable, right? And you got to make a company, you got to make a living eventually. So Kickstarter, there are resources that are needed to make Avarice. And teaming up with the school is one way to get some of those resources accomplished. But also, I thought about doing a Kickstarter, thought about doing some kind of donation thing. That was way back in the paintball days, even started thinking about doing some kind of donation system. I haven't done that kind of stuff yet. I'm really leaning towards Kickstarter as a possibility, especially now that indie games and a lot of just games in general are starting to gain popularity. If I'm going to do some kind of Kickstarter thing, I probably would wait until
the demo comes out at least.
Yeah, the demo.
Or a little further down into development.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough game there that I probably could get some people interested. But actually, I think this broadcast is going to be one of the best examples of my drive to make the game succeed, and that's what's important when you're doing Kickstarter. Kickstarter is about motivating people to show that you really love what you're making and that you're going to finish it.
Also, I know Kickstarter is actually changing its rules. It's guidelines for like what can be put up. So I mean, you definitely have enough work put in that like if you want to start a Kickstarter, they'll be like, okay.
There's also Indiegogo, and there's several places where you can get crowdfunding.
Doesn't Steam now have something called Steam Greenlight or something?
Greenlight is something similar, though I think that was partly to help filter who gets published through Steam and who doesn't as much, or at least who has to work harder to get through it. Because I went through the Steam process once, and it was quite tough to get everything set up. It's just, I'm sure they're getting bazillions of emails a day from everyone from reputable to, some random 8-year-old kid who thinks he made the greatest game ever, in Visual Basic or something. So
yeah. Now, have you ever considered, like, I really liked when Minecraft was first beginning to come up and become a thing, to set it up so like you could play the most recent build. You'd buy a one-time like.
Yeah, that is definitely, like, since there are so many expansions planned for Avarice, and it's very evolutionary, it's very
never-ending.
Yeah, it's very much never-ending. It's definitely. I've once I do start selling the game, it's probably, I can't guarantee it right now, but it's probably going to be a pay once and you get all upgrades in the future for free, or something, or it might be just. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll see. It depends on how money works. Money is always so complicated and evil. Or I might do like really cheap to get in and really cheap for every little, expansion pack thingy. Pretty much as long as they have enough to make ends meet.
Cool. And have you considered bringing anyone else on board to help you kind of?
Yeah, I have a whole repertoire of people I've met almost all through the school. That have helped on and off. I will do a name shout out to Heath Marks. He'll be really proud that he got his name here. Heath Marks helped me do the art for Coniclysm, which was awesome. It was amazing. He's on my list of people to bring on board at some point when ZoopTEK grows. I've had a lot of help from Tony Sanders here at Flashpoint to choose the current art style for Avarice and to make the very, very basic, the GUI with students, and then make some of the original blocks for Avarice, stuff like that. Oh, the visual effects, the bloom. Gotta have the bloom and depth of field.
That lighting is what makes it.
Lighting. Tony Sanders will swear to that. Lighting is everything.
Yep. Okay, so very cool. So do you think kind of once you kind of got your feet in the ground and like you started, if Avarice were to become kind of a thing, you were to make some money, you would consider bringing on like the Heath Marks? And
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's ultimately the goal. I mean, my goal personally, I mean, we'll see if it pans out, but my goal hopefully is to get ZoopTEK just a standalone entity that can, pay its own bills pretty much and pay its employees fairly and just make games we love. And if I can get students to jump on like as an internship thing, I think that would be awesome. Get credits for students and, get them the edge into the game industry so they can satisfy their dreams just like I have.
Absolutely. I think I guess our class was the first ones to get our hands on Avarice.
Yep.
And I think we kind of got an incredible opportunity considering that within our first year, we've already kind of got our names on something that will eventually end up out there making money. So I think that's a step up where other places might fall short. So Evan, do you have anything else to add, or shall we wrap this puppy up?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, very cool. Well, thank you very much, Alan Reck. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And this has been Two Tall Guys and Small Fry. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will catch you around. Expect Avarice mid-December. And I know we are intending to have podcasts almost out every week, the week of December, to celebrate the end of the year. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Bye.
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 Chloe, why did you eat my fries? I bought them and they were mine. But you ate them, yeah, you ate my fries, and I cried, but you didn't see me cry. Chloe, do you even love me? Well, I wish you would show it, because I wouldn't know it. What kind of pal eats her writer's fries and doesn't even look him in the eyes? Chloe, there were tears there. If you saw them, would you even care?